So git clone is primarily used to point to an existing repository and make a clone or copy of that repository in a new directory or in a location. So simply the git clone command copies an existing git repository. So git clone and paste the URL and hit enter. As you can see, the clone has started. To check if our cloning is done or not, simply type ls and hit enter. As you can see, Metasploit in Termux has been successfully cloned. So you can also change the directory to Metasploit in Termux and hit enter. If you ls, you will see all the various files and folders. So if you just simply type cat and readme.md, you will see how to install this Metasploit underscore Termux. Metasploit in Termux. So this is the full procedure given. So we'll come across this procedure how to install Metasploit and everything in our coming sections. So this is the simple demonstration like how to you know uh, clone from the GitHub repository. So git clone helps us to clone from the GitHub repository. But if you want to copy a file or a folder from web, how we can do it? For that we use the command wget. So wget command is a Linux command line utility that helps us to download the files from the web. To install wget, simply type apt install wget. Now let's suppose I want to download a file from the web. So for that, simply type wget and paste the URL. Wget and paste the URL. As you can see, the file has been copied from the web. If you ls and see, you can see readme.md.1. This is the file which we have copied from the web. Now clear the screen. Thank you. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Now we have entered to one of the most exciting section where we learn how attackers create payloads and send to the victims and how we can prevent ourselves from such an attack. Now before we dive into Metasploit framework, let's first understand what is penetration testing or simply pen testing. In simple terms, it is a process to identify security vulnerabilities in an application by evaluating the system or network with various malicious techniques. I'll come again. In simple terms, it's the process to identify security vulnerabilities in an application by evaluating the system or network with various malicious techniques. A penetration testing is a method of evaluating the security of a computer. The purpose of this test is to secure important data from outsiders, like hackers who can have unauthorized access to the system. So basically, a penetration testing is a method of evaluating the security of a computer system. The purpose of this test is to secure the important data from outsiders, like hackers who can have unauthorized access to the system. Now the next important question is, why conduct a penetration testing? Now we'll quickly go through 4 important points. First, government data must be secured while transferring between different systems. Second, protecting your brand by avoiding loss of consumer confidence and business reputation. Conducting a penetration helps us to secure user data. Also, to find the security vulnerabilities in an application. What is a Metasploit framework? The Metasploit project is an open source computer security project which provides an information about the security vulnerabilities and aids in penetration testing and IDS signature development. Now IDS stands for intrusion detection. We'll come across each term in our coming section. Also, Metasploit is a framework which is used for hacking of different kinds of applications, operating systems, web applications, and etc. So, the Metasploit framework is a modular penetration testing platform that enables you to write, test, and execute exploit code. The Metasploit framework contains a suite of tools that you can use to test security vulnerabilities, enumerate networks, execute attacks, and evade detection. At its core, the Metasploit framework is a collection of commonly used tools that provide a complete environment for penetration testing and exploit development. So, in simple terms, we can say Metasploit framework is used to find the vulnerabilities of a machine and exploit it, which means hack into the system. So currently there are more than 1500 exploits available. Can you just imagine the amount of impact this framework creates? Now, let's quickly go through the history of Metasploit framework. It was first created by H.D. Murray in 2003 in Perl. And the follow-up project came in 2004, which is known as Metasploit 2.0. In 2007, Metasploit 3.0 was released. And in 2009, Metasploit was acquired by Rapid7. Then, Metasploit Pro and Metasploit Express was developed. Now, the architecture of Metasploit. It is very important to understand the basic structure of Metasploit and how it is designed. We should not directly start with the exploiting targets, right? Let's start with the architecture. In libraries, we have REX, that is Rex, MSF Core, and MSF Base. So Rex, it's basic library for most tasks. So we can say Rex is a basic library for most of the tasks. It handles sockets, protocols, text transformation, and others. MSF Core, it provides the basic API. It defines the Metasploit framework. So MSF Core provides the basic API, but MSF Base provides the friendly API. It provides simplified APIs for the use in the framework. Now, in the modules, we have exploits, auxiliary, payloads, encoders, no operation, that is NOPs. Now let's quickly see the modules: exploits, payloads, encoders, NOPs, that is no operations, and auxiliary. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Now we'll quickly go through the various terminologies which we come across in computer security. So first, what is a vulnerability? In computer security, a vulnerability is a weakness which can be exploited by a threat actor, such as an attacker. So, a threat actor can be an attacker who performs unauthorized actions within a computer system. To exploit a vulnerability, an attacker must have at least one applicable tool or technique that can connect to a system's weakness. In this frame, vulnerabilities are also known as attack surface. I'll come once again. What is a vulnerability? In computer security, a vulnerability is a weakness which can be exploited by a threat actor. A threat actor can be an attacker who performs unauthorized actions within a computer system. To exploit a vulnerability, an attacker must have at least one applicable tool or technique that can connect to a system weakness. Now in this frame, vulnerabilities are also known as attack surface. So simply, in simple terms, we can say vulnerability, it is a weakness in a system, a bug which is to be exploited. Next, what is exploit? An exploit is a code that takes advantage of a software vulnerability or security flaw. It is written either by security researchers as a proof of concept, which is also known as POC threat, or by malicious actors for use in their operations. Now, when this is used, exploits allow an intruder to remotely access a network and gain evaluated privileges or move deeper into the network. I'll come once again. An exploit is a code that takes advantage of a software vulnerability or a security flaw. Alright, it is written either by security researchers as a proof of concept, or we can say it is a proof of concept of a threat, that is POC of a threat, or by malicious actors for use in their operations. So when used, exploits allow an intruder to remotely access a network and gain elevated privileges or move deeper into the network. In some cases, an exploit can be used as a part of multi-component attack. Instead of using a malicious file, the exploit may instead drop into a malware, which can include backdoor trojans and spyware that can steal user information from the infected systems. I'll come once again. In some cases, an exploit can be used as a part of multi-component attack. Instead of using a malicious file, the exploit may instead drop another malware, which can include backdoor trojans and spyware that can steal user information from the infected system. So basically, exploit is a piece of a code which is taken into the consideration for the advantage of a vulnerability. Now, a very important terminology, payload. So, what is a payload? What can be done using it? Well, a payload can be considered to be somewhat similar to a virus. A payload is a set of malicious codes that carry crucial information that can be used to hack any device beyond limits. Okay, beyond limits that you can imagine. For example, if we are trying to hack any Android device, then with the help of a payload, we can hack software as well as hardware. Let's take an example. If we hack any Android device, then we can access the camera as well as the microphone of that device. So payload works on the principle of reverse engineering, in the sense that we normally hack any device by finding its vulnerability and then we attack the device. But in this case, the payload itself becomes the vulnerability of the victim's device. So generally, a payload refers to a set of codes which a hacker designs according to his/her requirements. And then with the help of social engineering, which includes defective links, fake sites, etc., the payload is sent to the victim's device or is embedded within an application, probably a legitimate application that the victim downloads. The victim does not have any idea about the payload sent by the hacker, as the payload doesn't show any signs of its presence directly to the victim. Now, the victim grants the application permission that is required for it to be installed. Now, once the application with the embedded payload is installed by the victim, the device gets hacked. Now, the hacker has the permission to access the victim's device, and the embedded payload sends information to the hacker as it is connected to the hacker's PC as well. For example, you can click on photos using the camera, access the microphone, and many more things. So, in simple terms, payload, it is another piece of code that is executed through a given exploit, and it lets us control a computer system after it's been exploited. Now, we'll quickly go through the module of the architecture of our Metasploit. First, encoder. Encoders are used to evade the antivirus softwares and firewall. However, it has no effect on the functionality of the exploit. So some popular encoders are next, NOPs, which is a short form of no operation. So, no operation keep the payload sizes consistent, ensuring that validly executable by the processor. Basically, it makes the payload stable. Next, we have auxiliary. It provides additional functionality like scanning, fuzzing, and information gathering. Next, payload. So, in payloads, we have three types: singles, stagers, and stages. So, in single, payloads that are self-contained and completely standalone, that is, as simple as adding user to the target system on running, for example, say calculator.exe. So, singles are usually standalone. Next, stagers. Set up a network connection between the attacker and victim and are designed to be small and reliable. In stagers, payload is divided into stages. And when we come to the stages, it's a payload components that are downloaded by the stagers module. So we can say stages are components of stager module. Okay. Now before we go into what is bind TCP shell, first of all, let's understand what is shell. Shell can simply be described as a piece of code or program which can be used to gain the code or command execution of a device like servers, mobile phones, etc. I'll come once again. Shell can simply be described as a piece of code or program which can be used to gain code or command execution on a device like servers, mobile phones, etc. So now there are types of shells. Okay, first we have bind shell and then we have reverse shell. So coming to the bind shell. Bind shell is a type of shell in which the target machine opens up communication port or a listener on the victim machine and waits for an incoming connection. The attacker then connects to the victim machine's listener, which then leads to code or command execution of the server. So in simple terms, we can say in bind TCP shell, we have, in case of bind TCP, an exploit opens a vulnerable port in the victim's machine and then it waits for it waits for the connection from the attacker. Okay. And next we have bind reverse shell. So what is a reverse shell? A reverse shell is a type of shell in which the target machine communicates back to the attacking machine. The attacking machine has a listener port on, which it receives the connection, which by using code or command execution is achieved. So we can say in case of bind reverse TCP, the target machine communicate back to attacker machine. The attacker machine has listening port open on which it receives the connection. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Now we are nearly to the end of the basic understanding of what is Metasploit framework and we are all ready to start the practicals. So before that, we'll quickly go through the three initial steps which are required. First, we'll start the post JRE SQL service. Then we'll make sure that MSF database is running. And then we'll launch the Metasploit framework by typing in MSF console. These are the three initial steps. Also, the MSF Venom steps. First, we'll create a malicious file. Then start the payload handler. Get victim to run the malicious file. Now, few important ways, how you can prevent these attacks. It is very important. Okay, so first, don't download files from unknown source. Always run the latest version of software or operating system. And don't click on random links on the internet. These are the ways to prevent these attacks. Okay, so make sure you remember all these points, because these are the very key and the basic important points from which you can prevent yourself from getting hacked. Okay, so once again I'll come across these 3 points. First, don't download files from any unknown source. We have Google Play Store, we have App Store. Download from them. Always run the latest version of software or operating system, and don't click on any random links on the internet. Lastly, be smart. Don't get social engineered by someone. Okay. Now coming to the conclusion part. These were some of the basic Metasploit attacks. The point was not only to teach you that something like happens, but also about how to prevent it. Also, whatever you're gonna be taught in this course, it is purely for education purpose. I am not responsible for any illegal things you conduct in future. Thank you so much. See you in the practical section. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Now in this class, we'll install CPU-Z. So, CPU-Z is completely free tool that will help you view all your device's hardware information. It works just like a more popular version of the program made for Windows or PC. The application will give you instant information about the name, architecture, and clocks, that is, core speed and multiplier of each of your system's device. Similarly, it will display information about the make and model of the device, screen resolution, and RAM memory. CPU-Z also offers up battery details, level, state, temperature, voltage, etc. Best of all, and different from many similar applications, CPU-Z doesn't require any special permissions to access and show this information. So, CPU-Z is an excellent hardware information tool for Windows and now for Android as well. Although it's still in beta, the speed and precision with which it offers information makes it a fantastic program. Hello everyone and welcome to the class. Here we'll learn first how to install Metasploit in our Android device using the help of Termux. Follow the procedure step by step as demonstrated in the video lecture. First, we'll update and upgrade Termux. Please follow the procedure step by step as demonstrated in the video lecture. First we'll do pkg install unstable repo and then we'll install Metasploit. Press Y. Now Metasploit it will take around 357 MB. So yeah, it will take some time depending on your internet speed. So from here onwards, you can wait and watch the installation procedure, or move your pointer towards the last few seconds of the video where you will see the installation is done. So if you face any problem, feel free to reach out.